Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope that you guys are okay and I hope you're doing fine today. Today, our lesson grade 3 will be addresses. First, you have to log in using the aplusstudent.com. You click on your name and you want to language art the grade 3. In the chapter is addresses and the lesson is formatting street addresses. Hi to you all on the chat. I hope that you guys are good today. All right, so we will start now. When addressing personal correspondence, be sure to use the correct formatting and punctuation. Okay, so when you're addressing a personal correspondence, you have to be certain that you're using the correct format and the punctuation. For example, we have this. This is an address here. So we have Mr. Patrick Kelly, and then we have the second. Okay, so on the first line, you have to write the recipient's name. All right. All right, so the correspondent and the recipient. So let's say we have the recipients first. This is the person that is receiving, okay? The person who would receive, okay, for example. All right, so the recipient will be the person receiving the letter. So let's say that you all are sending me a letter. It will be my name here on the first line. Okay, so that's the right and proper way to address a letter or anything that you'll be sending to someone. Okay. Now, on the second line, you have to write the street address. Be sure to capitalize it and include a period after an abbreviation. Okay? So on the second line, you'll be writing the street address. That's my street. Okay? And you have to make that you capitalize it. Okay? You have to capitalize the street. And then you have to include a period to any abbreviation. So anyone that comes with abbreviation, like for example, this, you have to put a period beside. So for this one, you can see city with a period. All right, so that's it for like the first and the second line. Now moving on to the third line. On the third line, you have to write the city, state abbreviation, and zip code. So on the third, it's the city. That's my city. Then the state, you can abbreviate the states, and then you put the zip code. So zip code of that city. Sure to capitalize the city and bold letters of the state abbreviation and include a comma after the city. So we are Concord here. So we have to make sure that we include a comma. So take note of where you have to put the punctuation. You're putting the punctuation after the abbreviation of the street, okay? And then you're putting a period for the abbreviation of the street, and for the city or state, you have to make sure that you include your comma. All right, so just like this is a very typical example of an address. Okay, all right, let's look at some more examples. So format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing the three error. So there's error here, and you have to check what errors here. Okay, so you can see that the first line is correct, which is Anna Bryant. So the name is obviously correct. Now in the second line, capitalize the RD and include a period after. So if you have an abbreviation in the second line, you have to make sure that you include a period. And in the third line, don't include a comma after MA. All right. So you do not need to have a comma after this abbreviation here. All right. So you have to make sure that you take note of the right and proper way to format an address. Okay. Okay, let's look at the second. So we have format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing just one error. So what's the error here? So the first line, Dr. Maria, is correct. The second line is also correct because there's a period after the abbreviation. In the third line, don't include a comma after the WV. So after this, you do not include a comma. Okay, so you put a comma like after the city. All right, so this one is punctuate the address correctly by three errors. Okay, this was like the same one that we had earlier. So it's basically the same thing. Anyways, so do you guys have any questions concerning like the address and the format? You can tell me on the chat before we move on to the test. Do you have any questions? Okay, so we'll move on here. Format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing the two errors. So you have to look at this address and then tell me which one we need to correct. Is it the first or the second? You can share your answers. Okay, so the first one is correct, right? Because you can look at Amy and Ryan. And here is what? Capitalized. Of course, it shouldn't be, right? And then the abbreviation here is in small letter. It's supposed to be capitalized. So the first one is the correct one. Okay. All right. So the next off, we have this one. We just have one error here. So you can look at it and tell me which is the correct one. So this is also the first because there's a comma after the WV and you shouldn't have a comma here. So this is wrong, but this is the correct one. Okay. Alright, so we have format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing two errors. So take a look at this and then tell me which we need to correct. So you can tell me what the answer is here. Alright, so option one, that's correct. So we have the next one, three errors here. Can you check and then tell me the right one here? Okay, so this is also the first because the second one, the second line is in small letters and you have to make sure you capitalize them. So this is correct. Alright, so look at this one. You have to fix three errors and then you check and you tell me which is the right one here. All right, so the first one, because you do not put a comma after the ME. All right, so here you need to fix one error. What is the correct one here? So what do you think is the correct one here? Choose one error here. All right, so the first one, because you can see that this one has what? Mrs. in small letter. So this is wrong. Okay, so this one, just fix two errors here. What is the correct one here? Okay, so what's the correct one here? Okay, so option one, you can see that in the second one, the CT is abbreviated, but it was there, so that makes it what? Incorrect. All right, so we have three errors here. You can look at it and tell me which is the correct one here. Okay, so what's the correct one here? Okay, so this is option one. Okay. All right, so fix three errors here. Can you fix that and tell me which is the correct one here? All right, so the first one is the correct one. Okay, so for the next one, we need to correct just one error. So what's the right answer here? Okay, so we have option one again. The second one, this is in small letters. All right, so we have this one. We need to fix two errors here. What is the right answer here? Okay, so we have the option one. Thank you for your answers. All right, so you need to fix three errors here. You can look at this and tell me which is the correct one here. Okay, so we have option one. Okay, three errors here. Can you look at this and tell me which is the correct one here? Okay, so the first is the correct one. All right, so we have one error here. What do you think is the right one here? Okay, so the first is the correct one. Anyways, that's it for our lesson on the addresses. But can you tell me on the chat if you have any questions? Do you have any question concerning this one? All right, then, since we have no questions, we will end here. Thank you for joining the class. Have a good weekend and see you all next week. Bye.